The new 10th generation iPad is ostensibly the new starting point for the iPad line. It's got a bigger screen, faster processor, and better design than the 9th gen model that came out in 2021, and has been the entry point for the iPad line for the past few years. The bigger size screen and many of the design features have trickled down from the more expensive iPad Air, but the 10th gen iPad has an older processor and makes some other omissions to bring the price down. But along with those upgrades comes a higher price. The 10th gen iPad starts at $449, $120 more than the previous model, and can be kitted out to over $1,000 with storage, cellular, and accessory upgrades. This is for the entry-level iPad with no qualifier after its name, the one that you buy for casual use, kids, schoolwork, travel, and content consumption. It's not really a device to replace your laptop with. Apple seems to be aware of this conundrum because it's still selling the 9th gen iPad for $329, a much more palatable and accessible price for the many people just looking for a basic iPad to do basic iPad things. That puts this iPad in a weird spot. It's certainly better than the 9th gen model, which is still great. The camera is good news though. In a long overdue change, Apple stuck the front-facing camera in the bezel on the long edge of the screen, which makes using it for video calls and landscape orientation much easier. It's surprising that this is the first iPad to actually have the front camera in the right spot, but it's a safe bet we'll see this change in future updates to other iPad models. The biggest upgrade over the 9th gen iPad, other than the updated design, is the larger screen, which stretches out to 10.9 inches diagonally from 10.2. It's the same size as the iPad Air's screen, and it has the same brightness and resolution. It's a good size for a tablet, and comfortable enough for getting light work done as well as watching movies, reading, or playing games, even if it feels a bit cramped as a laptop replacement. The roughly 3:2 aspect ratio also works well in either portrait or landscape orientations. The big thing that's missing here is a headphone jack, which is a baffling deletion for the iPad that is supposed to appeal to the widest range of people. A lot of schools and parents buy entry-level iPads for kids, and not having a universal and easy way to plug in standard wired headphones will be frustrating. Apple does include a braided USB-C cable and a 20W charging brick in the box, but there's no USB-C to 3.5mm wired headphone adapter. That'll cost you $9. Despite the 10th gen iPad looking like the iPad Air and iPad Pro models, it doesn't share any accessories with them. Instead of using the same Magic Keyboard as the Air and Pro, the 10th gen iPad gets a wholly new keyboard accessory called the Magic Keyboard Folio. If you're keeping count, that brings Apple's iPad keyboard lineup up to 6 distinct models. And no, you can't use this new one with an iPad Air or Pro. The staggeringly expensive $249 Magic Keyboard Folio, a full 55% of the iPad's starting price, putting an iPad Plus keyboard kit at $700, has a 2-piece magnetic design with a back cover with a kickstand and a separate keyboard. The keyboard connects to the iPad via the smart connector on the tablet's edge, eliminating the need for a battery or Bluetooth connection. Despite the 10th gen iPad looking like the iPad Air and iPad Pro models, it doesn't share any accessories with them. Instead of using the same Magic Keyboard as the Air and Pro, the 10th gen iPad gets a wholly new keyboard accessory called the Magic Keyboard Folio. The staggeringly expensive $249 Magic Keyboard Folio, a full 55% of the iPad's starting price, putting an iPad Plus keyboard kit at $700, has a 2-piece magnetic design with a back cover with a kickstand and a separate keyboard. The keyboard connects to the iPad via the smart connector on the tablet's edge, eliminating the need for a battery or Bluetooth connection. Typing on the Folio keyboard is satisfying. The keys have the same amount of travel as Apple's Magic Keyboard, and they are well-sized and spaced apart. The trackpad is also excellent and even slightly larger than the one on the Magic Keyboard. Another confounding accessory situation is that the 10th gen iPad doesn't work with the 2nd gen Apple Pencil, which has been shipping since 2018. It only works with the 1st generation model that came out way back in 2015. But since the new iPad doesn't have a Lightning port anymore, pairing and charging the $99 1st gen Pencil with this iPad requires a new $9 USB-C to Lightning adapter that plugs into a USB-C cable that then plugs into the iPad itself. Inside, the 10th gen iPad is a dead ringer for 2020's 4th gen iPad Air. It's got an A14 Bionic chip, Wi-Fi 6, and either 64GB or 256GB of storage. While the A14 is not as fast as the M1 or M2 processors Apple's putting into the more expensive iPads. The iPad runs iPadOS 16, which isn't a huge departure from the last couple of versions of iPadOS. It's got a lot of the features that arrived on the iPhone in iOS 16, including editable iMessages, live text for video, and the ability to pull a subject out of a picture and place them into another app. In a vacuum, there's very little to complain about with the 10th Gen iPad. It's an excellent tablet that does all of the things you expect from a tablet very well. Even though its screen isn't as good as other iPads, it's still good enough, and its performance is unimpeachable. If this was the only iPad Apple sold, many people would buy it and be perfectly happy with it. So that's it for today's video. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. Thanks for watching.